What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure, the sequel to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Now, the story for this movie is this. Bill and Ted are being pursued by this man from the future named Chuck Danamanos, who creates who creates evil robots of Bill and Ted, who then go on to kill Bill and Ted. And now Bill and Ted have to team up with Death in order to go back into the world and take down the evil robots. Okay, that's the story of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. The plot is very convoluted to say the least, but I like Bogus Adventure. I like Bogus Journey. I think this is a good continuation of the Bill and Ted story. I do not think that Bogus Journey is as good as Excellent Adventure, but Bogus Journey does have a lot of good things in it. So before I get to my negatives, let's do the positives first. Positives. Reeves and Winters as Bill and Ted, you can't go wrong. Their chemistry in this movie is just as good, if not better, in this movie. And I love how we get to see two different versions of Bill and Ted. We get to see the good side of Bill and Ted, and we get to see Bill and Ted as their evil robot selves. And both sides have good comedic moments to it, have really good humor scenes to it. And Reeves and Winters show just how talented they are as actors and just how good they are with one another in terms of chemistry. They're fantastic as both good Bill and Ted and even Bill and Ted. No complaints. This in this movie, really, William Sadler is in this movie. He plays Death, and Death to me, William Sadler, he is the show stealer of this movie. Sadler as Death is absolutely awesome. Every scene that Sadler is in, he is hilarious, and he always has a very dry, very stoic delivery to his lines. And his personification of Death is utterly outstanding. I mean, it's a spoof on the Seventh Seal, which is an old Igmar Berman movie from way back when. So this movie partially spoofs that. Hence, William Sadler's portrayal as Death, and like I said, he steals the show. I love his scenes. The chemistry that Sadler has with Winters and Reeves is outstanding. He has to pretty much play the straight man to these two goofballs, and the chemistry between the three is outstanding. Love it. Have no complaints about William Sadler as Death. Uh, to me, the real highlights of Sadler as Death is where Bill and Ted are challenging him to a series of games, and they keep beating him, and you can see Death visibly getting aggravated because of it. And Sadler's performance in that scene is awesome. No complaints whatsoever. The actresses who play Joanna and Elizabeth, who were the medieval babes from the first movie, they are in the sequel as the girlfriends of Bill and Ted. They're okay in their roles, though they're barely in the movie. I would have liked to see more of them, to be honest with you. Same thing with Rufus, once again played by George Carlin. I think Rufus in this movie, he's barely in it. He's in the beginning, and then he comes back in the end after being disguised as this woman named Miss Wardrew, who was like the presenter of this thing called the Battle of the Bands, which is what the Wild Stallions are trying to be in and trying to win. Who is played by Pam Grier, actually, who makes an appearance in this movie. Yeah, it's revealed at the end that Rufus was this woman the entire time, which I thought was which is a pretty cool, pretty okay reveal. Though I would have liked to have seen more of Rufus, particularly since the movie got off to a really good start by pretty much seeing Rufus in the future, and we get cameos by Jim Martin from Faith No More, which was cool. But it also sets up the whole plot line of the movie with the character of Chuck Danamos, played by Yoss Eklund. As an actor in performance, I thought Yoss Eklund was good as the character of Danamalos. Honestly, truthfully, I don't really think this movie needed a main villain type of thing. I don't know. He seems kind of wasted. He doesn't really come across as a threat to me, to be honest with you. Mainly because we don't really get any scenes of Bill and Ted interacting with him at all. We see Bill and Ted go through a series of trials trying to get out of the afterlife, which leads to a very entertaining scene when they're trapped in hell and they got to go through a series of just events. There's this one scene where they got to go through this guy named Colonel Oates, who owns a military school in Alaska, and then we see them go through their own private hells with Bill confronting his grandma and Ted confronting the Easter Bunny, since Ted ate his brother's Easter basket, which is hilarious. And it's actually a creative scene. Too. Like, the whole look of hell in this movie is really, really cool. Like, it's unique. And that's one of the best things about this movie, that it has a unique feel to it. I mean, tonally, this movie is much more darker and much more meaner than that first movie. So hence a lot of the darker elements that this movie does have. But it also has a good contrast as well. Like we get to see like the darker, hellish moments in hell, and then we get to see like these bright moments when they go to heaven with death, and it's like a good contrast. And the movie does keep a consistent tone. Like this movie is still really funny, but like I said, it also has dark moments. I mean, come on, there's a scene where Bill and Ted actually die and go to hell and are in the afterlife trying to get out of it. And of course it leads to the good stuff with death, and then they meet this scientist Martian known as Station, where they build good robot us's to take on the evil us's at the Battle of the Bands. In a very underwhelming anticlimax, where the good robot us's pretty much dismantle evil Bill and Ted within like 6 seconds, and then Chuck Delamolos comes in and he gets thrown in jail after 10 seconds. Like the entire climax and building up the evil us's and Delamolos for so long, and then it goes out on a whimper. I didn't really care for it, which is why I really didn't think this movie needed a main villain. To be honest with you, because it's underwhelming climax doesn't really do anything. I think it would have been cool if good Bill and Ted and the evil Bill and Ted actually did a battle of the bands against each other, and the crowd had to choose which Bill and Teds they liked the best. I think that would have made for a more satisfying payoff, since they were building up this battle of the bands thing. I think the movie really needed that more than anything. But that's not to say this movie doesn't have a lot of good gags. I mean, there is one gag that I absolutely love. That's when Bill and Ted pretty much pretty much do the exorcist on these two cops. Ted possesses his dad, and Bill possesses the sergeant, and it's hilarious seeing Ted's dad act like him. Like, I totally possess my dad. Don't hurt the babes. Funny stuff. Like, Bogus Journey does have a lot of good things in it. I do like it a lot, though I do think it's inferior to that first movie. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie whatsoever. It still has the same spirit as that first movie. It's still a hell of a lot of fun. But I do think the first movie is overall just a better movie in general. But with all that being said, Bogus Journey for me gets a solid 8 out of 10. I do recommend it. It's a good continuation of the Bill and Ted story, and it is really good. And I do enjoy it a lot. And I also like the montage at the end of the movie to Kiss His God Made Rock and Roll. Good stuff. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.